Yeah, we are going live after 3 minutes, so we can keep talking. This is just
Okay.
recording. Just give me a second.
Should we make the screen just Navneeta and me, or?
No, it will be who will be speaking. Speaker থাকিব আৰু focus.
Okay.
Yeah. So automatically change with থাকিব.
Yeah, we should be live.
You're right?
Yeah. Yes, live.
Okay. সকলোলৈকে নমস্কাৰ জনাই আজি আমাৰ সেশনটো আকৌ আৰম্ভ কৰিছো ক্লাইমেট ডায়ালগছ ৱে ফৰৱাৰ্ডৰ আজি আমাৰ গেষ্ট হৈছে সুপ্ৰিয়া খাউন আৰু আমি আজিৰ সেশনত we will be talking about co-creating a sustainable future through imagination and practice এই বিষয়টোৰ ওপৰত কথা পাতিম সুপ্ৰিয়া খাউনৰ জন্ম ডিব্ৰুগড়ত আৰু তেওঁৰ স্কুলিং হৈছিলে ডিব্ৰুগড়ৰ লিটল ফ্লাৱাৰ স্কুল আৰু তেজপুৰৰ অসমভেলী স্কুলত then she went to do her BA in political science from Lady Shri Ram College in Delhi and her MSc in science social policy and development from the London School of Economics and Political Sciences and so from the very young age Supriya environment advocate hisabe very passionate asile aru Supriya was also working to integrate the sustainable development goals into policy with various state governments in Northeast India with United Nations Development Program understanding the challenges of climate change biodiversity and the interconnections of women's rights and social justice with these issues Supriya has worked multiple stakeholders from the government all the way to the grassroots to generate positive outcomes for moving towards a more sustainable and inclusive society. আজি আমি সুপ্ৰিয়াৰ পৰা জানিব লগা বহুতখিনি কথা আছে কাৰণ তুমি already at a diverse dimensionত কাম কৰিছা that's I'm really excited about that and as a passionate advocate for climate solutions in a purely personal capacity Supriya has also trained over 1,000 young people in often remote parts of Assam on environmental and sustainability awareness, as well as core development challenges such as water, sanitation, and hygiene. For this work, she has won awards from Rotary International and USA-based NGO World Merit. Yar bahireo, Supriya, she is also an avid runner and animal lover. So welcome Supriya, our session today. We are honestly looking for a very exciting sessions. Tumar bio পঢ়াৰ পৰা মই ভাবিছো যে বহুতখিনি নজনা কথা তোমাৰ পৰা জানিবলৈ পাৰিম আৰু আমাৰ অডিয়েন্সেও সাস্টেইনেবিলিটি বিষয়ে বহুতখিনি কথা জানিবলৈ পাৰিব so welcome once again
Thank you Navneeta and thank you Bidyut for hosting the session Navneeta for your passion and drive to take on this work very commendable work our Enajuri Foundation jone platform to create korise bahut dhoroner dialogues loi ani hokololoi big thank you for giving me this opportunity about my work do you want me to talk a little bit or how do we start
yes let's start since the topic is about sustainability practices so আমি একেবাৰে তুমি ৰিসেন্টলি জি কৰি আছা তাৰ পৰা আৰম্ভ কৰো
okay so তুমি বহুত দীঘল introduction দিলাই so in the past I have been working in the development sector per se gender oport kaam korisu environmental protection oport kaam korisu aru in the last since the adoption of the sustainable development goals it was a global goal hoy 17ta goal ase etu inception of a Assam government logot through UN kaam kori asilu etu goal aru juntu UN logot kaam korisu that was particularly for sustainable development now my work has led me to work in a lot of different areas so I've been lucky enough to work on gender on environment on sustainability so my interconnectedness to through my work I've experienced it quite a lot that led me to sort of understand aru olop besi janibole ichha hol other than the regular work juntu ami kori asu through our official sort of challenges and tasks that we set up, I thought, how can I sort of deep dive and go deeper into sustainability? So 2023 actually moi eta stop eta loisu so that I can go deeper and learn about sustainability in my daily life and as a practitioner. Sort of practice what you preach principle, so that I don't just write the policy or I don't just work at the other end, but I also truly fully believe what I'm writing, I practice it and I take it as a solution. So 2023 has been a little bit of that after a lot of work on the other side. But Judy moi sustainability ki hoy aru, if I go deeper, I'll start with with my title, where I have used the word imagination. A few people have joined already, so I would welcome you to join in this imagination exercise. Aru and Vidyut and Nabanita also welcome to close your eyes for a second. Okay, you can close your eyes and you're imagining community-led space, a beautiful green park. Ekdom dhuniya green, but native trees, native plants. You can feel it. If your eyes are closed, then you will also feel it. You can smell it. You can see the leaves. You can smell the aroma around you. Then you can hear the chatter of children, laughing children. You can hear the buzz of bees. It's really, really faint, but you can hear the buzzing bees. You can hear families laughing, sharing their food together. You can see children running to the washrooms, and they can see this beautiful signs. They say all the water is recycled in our washrooms. They have a gray water system, a black water system, and they have trees behind it, which is feeding everything. You see people cycling back to work from work. They are smiling as they look at these people having fun. And the sun's setting, and you see the solar lamps are starting to come in themselves. But then you look around and you see you're in a neighborhood. The whole neighborhood is full of plants and trees, and it's a urban neighborhood. And there are plants on top of these buildings. These bees are actually in these buildings. You can see there's a beautiful harmony between this green space and this living space. And you can feel it, you're in the midst of it. And it's a very joyful moment. You can absorb it for a second, and then I will snap you out of it. And now you're back in the real world. It feels so good, just imagining my city, my Dibrugarh Thaku. And I crave for green spaces like this, where I can take my child and we can run around and everybody's having fun together. And for me, sustainability is a way of living. It's not a jargon, just to sell a product. Sustainable, but it is not just a word that we use to market ourselves. It's a way of living. And it is achievable. It is achievable. It is linked to everything. Ami ji bostu bonao, ami innovate koro, ami consume koro. Doinondin dinot tumar jimman bostu use hoy, sob bostute amar sustainability is interlinked. And it's interlinked to the natural world. So it's not just me or you as humans. Our natural world, just now, if you just observe around you, you may hear a few crickets, you can hear a few insects, you can hear the birds, you can see the trees, you can see the plants. But beyond this, there's also microorganisms. There are seeds, there are insects, there are all sorts of things that we don't really think about every day, but that exist within this natural world. And a lot of times I feel this, when we say natural world or we say environment, we tend to use it as a resource. Now everything has become a resource. natural resources or mineral resources. Yes, they are resources, but it's not only for use and abuse. They are part of the natural world. So yeah, sustainability for me and for what I do right now is all about slowing down, learning, and ingraining it in my life and taking it to others as well.
Okay. Yeah, that's a very nice explanation. To tetiahole yar pasot ami okoman technical kotha loi jao je while I was Googling about sustainability practices to, learn, even though we have a vague idea about sustainability practices, but I just wanted to know more. Aru moi Google kori asilo, and then I came across the word like, the poverty environment nexus. It was a long article about, how poverty, environment, sustainability, everything are entangled, the kind of solutions we should do. Aru tumar logot discuss koroti, you said you were actually from policy background. So, and right now you talked about how sustainability practices or all these things actually exist in our day-to-day life, every step, right? So to me, okoman a poverty environment nexus. Prothomote ami amak etu bishe okoman bhalke bujai diba niki jar pasot ami we can go to more detail.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, Navneeta. Poverty and environment, বহুতে কয় যে এটা বেশি ইম্পর্টেন্ট ইটুতকে বা ইটু বেশি ইম্পর্টেন্ট poverty, মানে poverty usually gets an upper hand on global economy wise because people are important. Getting them out of poverty is absolute priority, no matter what. But এই যোনটো interconnectedness to হয় হেতু খুব বেছি, especially for people under poverty level, হেতু interconnectedness to সাংঘাতিক strong. সেইকাৰণে অকল এটা group যদি কিবা environmental disaster হয়, the people who are poorest will be the hardest hit. It's a fact. Although sometimes, they are, you would say that everybody's affected, but the safety net junto thake for the poorest is the least. So in terms of any sort of environmental, natural disasters, calamities, floods, etc., the poorest are always hardest hit. Also, livelihood so ami jitia sao titia primarily in an average kobo gole, because it will nation to nation depend koribo, but almost 50 to 90% livelihoods are dependent on ecosystem services. Ecosystem service ki hobo etia jane ki apni agriculture kaam korile, apni forestry kaam korile, aqua around coastal areas, apni ocean beds ba fishery ba enuka dhornot kaam korile ba grasslands ot kaam korile, hebu ecosystem services they derive livelihood, apni income eta generate koribo pare. Aru most livelihoods are dependent on ecosystems. Aru although we derive a lot from the environment, we process, we take it forward, but the poorest are directly engaged in this work. Aru itia ki hoy ase eta environmental degradation boli kobo gole jeneke in the next maybe about not even 5 years, maybe in the next 2 to 3 years, people who are at least 2 out of 3 people will be in water stressed areas, mane telokor water scarcity in some form hobo. Or A to jodi apni urban area koy will be highest, and urban areas are where concentration of poorest is highest. So water hole, apnar agriculture already over 40% of land is degraded, is not cultivable anymore globally. So if we are looking at agriculture as the main source of sustenance, that would be hoise. Ami protek second ek truck garbage ami itia oceanot pelais. But itia from the moment we started this conversation, I think there has been at least I can't even tell you how many truckloads of garbage we've dumped in the ocean. So people in the marine areas who are dependent on their livelihoods in these coastal belts will be affected. I think there'll be more plastic in the water in our oceans by 2050 than fish. Now, this is very extremely scary thing. Similarly, we have already seen, and that's why just before this chat happened, Amnita, I was telling you about how I'm feeling this weekend is because all of these things happening in Sikkim happening. I used to work previously in Sikkim. I'm very aware of the area and the issues that are there. And natural disaster and calamities. So people in high altitude areas with Uttarakhand we saw earlier, Himachal we've seen this year, Sikkim we are seeing right now. Cloudbursts, dam bursts are not things that we can just say doesn't happen with us. And we are building more dams than we can ever think about. And in high siltation areas. And these are serious issues. Now, who is most affected? Now, all of these cases, the most affected people are the poorest. Everything said and done, they will always be, it'll be always difficult to kind of have that safety net in these situations. I feel there has been a lot of work on sustainability, on the Sustainable Development Goals. These are the 17 goals. Globally, India at a signatory hoy. India signatory hoy pale, we have developed at every state at a vision document. Our vision document khone apunak state to a kuntu area, health, education, agriculture, apna jiman gita criteria ase, environmental to forestry, consumption or porot. So all of these areas, they're set targets. So, Iman 2030 loge, ami ekhini 100% education to sobe ko boye, 100% access to health facilities. Sub targets set kora ase. And that is small scale. Kisman janenge 2027 loke ba 2024 loke wase kisman targets, shorter goals. Tapisot state governments have also created something called their target setting and then their monitoring platforms based on the target setting. So a target setting would the monitoring platform checks the ekhini target against the kunkhini kam hoise, kunkhini kam hua nahi. But most of these monitoring platforms are managed by the state itself. So kisman data, nationally junkhini data ase, hekhini Niti Ayogot poa jay. Niti Ayogo website or at state level ase, but state managed data bo state or hatot thake. I don't think too many states have them in public domain. But junkini initial planning, junkini initial kam hoisile on sustainable development goals, there was a lot of engagement with people, with citizens. But now at the monitoring level, that sort of engagement is slightly missing. So, hey, engagement through Judy Hoy, then in the policy platforms, it'll be easier to have a say and hold people accountable. By people, I mean governments accountable. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, sorry. Moi, teতিয়াhale yar eta follow-up question eneke khutibo khojisu. Since we are talking about poverty, sustainability, and then environment, like, right, you know. So considering the poverty or financially challenged part of the society, so they will always look for the development. They need the development, right? The society needs development, especially for countries like us. And we always look to go ahead. So things probably would have been easier if we were already in a developed country to say things to go back where we start. So how do we balance, right? How do we, you know, work for development and at the same time going back with our lifestyles? So how do you say that? I'm asking because recently I got involved with a community where with the minimal facilities, infrastructure, and we did a survey with them, and then we realized they are actually using the minimal resources. Okay, and then they definitely do need for look forward to have a beautiful house or probably a good transportation or whatever, you know. And then yeah, so how do you, like, since you are working with different communities at the grassroots level itself, so what is your experience? Probably you have encountered these questions already in the past.
Yeah.
So
I
how do you
think
say that?
firstly, it's a great question. It's the most frequently asked question because it is the first thing that comes to mind for people when you say development versus sustainable development.
Yes.
Now, development per se is linked purely to economics, which is that we need the growth of the country. Our economics, our consumers need to keep buying so that our economy keeps growing. It's linked to GDP. And sustainable development, the primary principle of sustainable development says that it's any development cannot solely be looked in the lens of economics and has to be balanced with social and environment. So I'll give you an example. So for instance, we are looking to improve the livelihoods of the community, say in Lower Assam. They need an economic incentive, or they need something that will enhance their economic potential. So it's a controversial example, but I have to throw it out there. We say, let's do palm oil cultivation. Now it's something that's happening again. So it is something that's happening. It's not something that's in distant future. Now it is a government mission as well. So we are doing palm oil now in a lot of parts in Northeast India. Since palm oil started, we are uprooting our native trees and plants, destroying our biodiversity, creating man-animal conflict, because we are rich in wildlife. Now our wildlife, although we have heard about the orangutans abroad who were affected, but I think closer to home, we have forgotten about our wildlife, our monkeys, our bandor, hatti, our বহুত সৰু সৰু animals আছে যোনবোৰ extinctionৰ verge আছে আৰু বহুত আমি মানে আমাৰ next প্ৰজন্ম দেখিব নাপাব তেওঁলোকক আৰু সেই একদম extinctionৰ verge আছে, but instead of the conservation part, we are going towards a culture of, say, monocropping and crops that probably will be unsustainable, will not lead to improvement of our soil, will not lead to improvement of our water tables, will deplete it rather, will deplete in every sense. So a question to jitya hai sustainable development versus development. Apni development saboi lagibo. You cannot leave one person, one community behind. You have to think about it in a holistic manner. Any planning has to be done in a holistic manner. But how can we do it in balance is the question. And how can we do it not just in balance, but by optimizing our use of resources. আমি যোনখিনি আমি এই natural mineral resource কথা ক'লো প্ৰথমত, সেইখিনি আমি optimize কৰি কেনেকৈ use কৰিব পাৰো without wastage, without harming the environment, without harming people, without affecting social indicators, without by including people, by allowing people access to healthcare, by allowing people access to education, quality. I'm not just saying healthcare and education, I'm saying quality, because it is easier to just build the infrastructure of a hospital, but it's more difficult to have good doctors managing it or have good frontline workers managing it. So not just having the infra, but also giving the quality in each of these sectors. So if we look at a linear development, was it a linear whole, it would have been, it would go continue in this manner. Or apni junto kotha kole matra je amar consumption বা আমি যদি চাওঁ বিদেশত যদি চাওঁ যদি আমি আমেৰিকা হিচাপে কনজিউম কৰোঁ then we will need 4 planets to survive in the next 25 years. And we don't have 4 planets, we only have the one. So if India starts consuming at the rate that America is consuming right now, then we are in trouble, like major trouble. But we have a growing middle class. We have a huge growing middle class. We need to understand and acknowledge that. And in that sense, if we were, and we are in that stage of development, we are talking about development, we are doing massive infrastructure projects, we are doing massive projects across all states, like we are still in that trajectory forward. But these projects cannot be in silo. They have to take into account all of these factors while they are being designed, while they are being executed. And another important thing is have people's opinions when they are being designed, because they're being done for the people. You're talking about how can we involve, how can we improve the economics of people, then we have to engage these people also while we are designing for them. And that has been my biggest learning when I've gone on field. Because, you know, when you design a project and you're sitting afar and you're like, দুখীয়া মানুহ হয়, livelihood লাগিব, এটা weaving unit বনাই দিও. You go there to set up a weaving unit. Nobody wants to weave. They say, no, we don't want to weave anymore. It cannot be that I'm not talking I as a person, but when we're designing, it has to be in consensus with the community that you're working in, be it a road, be it an infrastructure, be it their social needs.
Yes, I think that's a really important. Yes.
Okay, yeah. I just wanted to ask, when you said like economics and sustainability, so if I can put, I felt sustainability feels like brakes in a vehicle, which you think that it is against the vehicle moving, but actually it helps maneuvering the vehicle better. But what I felt as a climate scientist, je manuhok sustainability practice aru growth, মানে sustainability practice বুজাবৰ কাৰণে অসুবিধা এইটো হয় যে মানুহৰ যিমানখিনি পেশেন্স আছে, compared to that patience, the rate of reward is low. So মানুহে কিবা এটা practice কৰিলে তাৰ পৰা reward যেটো পাব, it takes so much time that people get fed up. Okay, এই কামটো কৰিলে আমাৰ লাভ actually হৈছে নে নাই. So I feel sustainability practiceৰ কাৰণে action and awareness. So there has to be a balance. So how do you see that balance coming, where that balance lies? Because when you said in your starting speech that you have 2023, you have started practicing it yourself. So from that point of view, and also as somebody who has worked with people in the grassroots level, so where is that action and awareness balance coming?
Sorry, I lost you for a quick second, but I'm just rephrasing. You're asking where's the balance between action and awareness?
Yes.
Okay. Another thing that you mentioned, a word that I'll pick up from what you mentioned, was the word growth and rewards, right? Mm-hmm. Right at the beginning. So there's a really interesting concept called degrowth. Both of you may be aware of it, just to bring it to the audience. So degrowth is a birat interesting concept, because ami hokolue okol growth or kotha pati thaku, but bahut common degrowth or kotha pata. It's a concept that's taken up in the last decade or so. It's really grown. There are a few very noted people who are writing about it. And degrowth e koy je amar jikhini ase আমি সেইখিনিৰে মানে যি ৰিসোৰ্স আছে, আমাৰ এনাৰ্জি আছে বা ৰিসোৰ্সেস আছে, আমি সেইখিনিৰে কেনেকৈ মেনেজ কৰো আৰু এনেকুৱা এটা সিস্টেম বনাও যাতে আমি within our limits we can stay and we can create, but in a de-escalating manner versus going higher and higher. So I just wanted to throw that concept out. Our reward system, it's a very interesting thing that I have observed personally. I'm not a researcher, but from a lot of literature that I'm reading, I do realize that countries that are developed, and I'm not undermining developing or underdeveloped countries in the sense, but developed countries, maybe because of the access to healthcare, economics does not directly relate to better quality of mental health. So in certain cases, say I think 40% of Americans currently have mental health issues. The range can be very high, varying, not high, but can be varying degrees. So when you say that consumption leads to immediate gratification, right? Consumption leads to immediate gratification. You feel good about it. You're buying something, you feel good, get that little dopamine, and you can like, bhal lagise, eto notun bostu kinilo. Whereas if you're going and you are buying something, say, secondhand, or you're thinking about your choices, and the gratification is not as immediate, and you have to think more, and the rewards are not immediate, then that gratification is much lesser. So, but it does not directly relate to happiness. And if you look at economies around the world, the happiest countries in the world, they may be, some of them are rich, yes, but if you look at the rates of consumption, they're actually low. So there's one bit there. And on your second part, on the awareness bit, I think every person, say, moi as a consumer, apuni jodi as a business owner hoy, you are a voter, every person can in their own way be part of it. Like, for instance, if I'm a consumer, I can check the companies that I'm buying from. I can be aware about where they are sourcing the material, how are they recycling their products, how am I consuming my food, am I consuming it locally, am I buying things that are being imported. These are little things that a consumer can do. You as a voter can keep a check on your government. You can hold you don't have to go to the highest level, but your local representative, you can ask them about the choices that they are making, about their projects. Like, it can start in your street, literally it can start in your street, doesn't have to go that high as well, about where's funds going, etc. As a business owner, and this is a very important one, eta hobdo as a planned obsolescence. Mane, we make things so that they are discarded or thrown. There's no point, we cannot reuse it no matter what. Planned obsolescence is a very, pretty much, has taken over the market. Our opposite to whole sustainably designed products. So etu bahut eta niche, eta bahut horu hoy ase etia, kintu almost everything jane ki apni eta phone lole etu almost apni thik koribo nware, you upgrade to the next one, So as a business owner, you have to also make sure that the things that you're making are, number one, you're making it in ethical work conditions, your workers are paid well. Although not directly sustainability, but human rights is also a very big part. Because of the social angle, human rights is part of the larger ambit. Apunar packaging material, apni plastic use korise, paper use korise, reusable material use korise, eburu bahut important. Aru apnar junkhini products, it's about longevity, long lasting, jiman din pare tanibo parake. And if it breaks, then you go back towards asking the company, my thing is broken, can you fix it now? So these are small incentives that you can give to, as whichever person you are in. And that's how I think you can create a balance. But eta bostu hoise je bahute sustainability hobdotu bahut common practice hoise, aru bahute try korise, no doubt. I think the intention is very good. it's also creating awareness in the general market about sustainable products. You'll see these like green signs in a lot of products nowadays. We are sustainable, etc. But a lot of things cannot be recycled as well. So that is like 44% of food when it's used, or energy inputs when it is used, cannot be recycled. Or a lot of building material cannot be recycled. Lot of waste which is generated from mining cannot be recycled. So there are things that can't be recycled as well. So, or I can run you through another small exercise, imagination exercise, to show you the life of things that can be or cannot be recycled, but you'll have to allow me time to do that.
Sure.
Okay, if Bidyut is happy with my answer, because there's more to it, but
Yeah, sure.
we'll run through the life of a t-shirt. Okay, so again, welcome to you don't have to close your eyes for this one, but you can imagine it in your heads. So the life of a shirt or a t-shirt, it's made in Vietnam. It goes all the way to, let me say, Austria. And it sits in a super mall, not a super mall, a mall. And yes, and then a young student buys it. She takes the t-shirt, she wears it for 2 years, and then it lies in the back of her cupboard. And then she doesn't really wear it anymore. So she sends it to the recycling unit in her city. Austria, I'm assuming, it still does recycle a lot, because I've seen your segregation is better. But in a lot of cases, a lot of clothes are made with mixed fibers. So when it's made with lots of mixed fibers, it cannot be recycled very well. So this company, who honestly said that they can recycle, now realizes they can't recycle. They send it to their global hub, where it's all kind of collected together, and they give half of it to third world countries, primarily to Africa and Asia, out of which only 30% is being used of all of those recyclable material. Only 30% can be sold off again. Now the other bits that can't be sold off are, they try, but they can't. So they go to a landfill in Kenya. And this landfill, by the way, was closed in 2001. So they said it's hazardous to continue to dump things here, and they closed it in 2001. Till date, they have about 2,000 tons of waste coming in every day. So it lies there and it's burned. It's creating health hazards for children around there, so much so that the hospital nearby has to have a dedicated unit for residents only around the landfill. And this is all a reality. This is not made up. Now, we think that we paid for this t-shirt. I paid $8 for this t-shirt. Now, this t-shirt was shipped from Vietnam to another country. Then it was shipped from another country to another, and then probably to another. So it's been shipped 4 times in its lifetime. For $8, and the cost of fossil fuel involved in this entire process is, no, we didn't pay for it. The planet paid for it. And we just consumed for a little bit, and then we got tired and we discarded it. So I think this awareness and action, it has to be ingrained in us, and we have to talk about it. Like, we have to own our choices. We have to own our choices that, I thrift. I only thrift when I need, but then I thrift and I'm proud of it. So we have to own these choices. We have to talk about it, and we have to tell other people. And there's a huge, huge payment that's being made, but it's not being made by us.
So one quick optional question.
Optional answer.
So if I give you like ask you to create awareness for A, use, B, reuse, and C, recycle. So which one would you pick? Use, reuse, and recycle. You can pick only one.
I'll do reuse.
Why not use?
I will use, of course, I'll use myself, but then I prefer reuse because I tend to keep reusing and keeping and not recycle as much because where I live, recycling is limited to a few things. So a lot of people may answer this question to recycling, but I probably to things that I know are being 100% recycled, I will use the last option. But used, of course, to the longevity of its life. And then if it cannot be used to its purpose, then you reuse it in a different form. And then there's nothing stopping you from that.
Mm-hmm.
So I think
I was thinking of spreading awareness first about use, but I mean it's just a different philosophy. But I have seen like people using more than what they need or using recklessly. I mean, after you use it properly, then only reuse or recycle would come. So this just a philosophy, but so that's why I kept it like a objective type. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. But use is the first step anyway. But since I'm going more than use, I would say reuse because yeah.
Yes.
I think এখানেতে বিদ্যুতৰ যেটো point আৰু সুপ্ৰিয়াৰ যেটো point দুইটা merge কৰিলে probably এনেকুৱা হ'ব user বিষয়ে awareness create কৰিলে probably it would be more efficient কিন্তু most of the time we don't have that much information that we should have in our hand like corporate resource কৰিছে কেনেকুৱা তাহাঁতৰ background so probably we anyway end up buying the product কিন্তু probably reuser বিষয়ে যদি awareness create করা যায় even though we ended up buying the product probably at least we can stop rebuying from the same company or same thing that can be one way of minimizing or slowing down the process probably another thing যেটো Supriya kola is a recycle and considering at the moment where you are based that recycler option নাই আৰু গটিকে আমি যেটো অসম centric কৰি পেলাই কথাখিনি পাতিছো গটিকে অসমত এতিয়াও যেটো recycling or ইমান বেছি scope হোৱা নাই probably তাৰ পৰা মানে হেতু perspective use কৰি পেলাই মোৰ actually next question to asile about behavioral changes so আৰু আমি already probably we have enough talk about like recycling that we should recycle we should reuse we should check the company's background while buying the product and everything or how all these things are contributing towards climate change and all so এনেকুৱা ক্ষেত্ৰত কি জানি যেতিয়া আমি recycle কৰিবলৈ awareness এটা create কৰিব খুজো probably we should consider where the community is based on মানে এনেকুৱা এটা community recycle কৰিবলৈ কৈ কি লাভ হ'ব যদি তাতে recycle related একো ধৰণৰ plant নাই বা কোনো ধৰণৰ scope নাই so
yeah
right so probably তেনেকুৱা সময়ত যদি discussion বোৰ কেনেকুৱা community focus কৰি লোৱা হয় বা কেনেকে কাক target কৰি লোৱা হয় I think সেই ধৰণে যদি dialogue বোৰ prepare কৰিব পৰা যায় probably it would help to change the behavior of the people I guess
okay yeah.
I don't know I'm just guessing because I observe like we keep talking but it's really hard to change our behaviors
yeah
right
it is hard because everything is driven towards capitalism and consumerism
yes.
so it wants you to constantly buy আৰু এটা habit কৰিব হলে an average 66 days লাগে just an average but behavioral change to form on sustainable living and to be a practitioner it may take a bit longer because ৰাতিপুৱা উঠাৰ পৰা আমি ৰাতি শুৱালৈকে আমি on an average maybe 6-7 টা ad দেখো
Yes.
and যদি এইবোৰ ads মানে আমি মনত চাগে আমাৰ চাগে 20টাই থাকিব তাৰপা because our brain can screen these very quick, but if we remember out of these 10,000 is 5 ads, and then we are driven towards, oh, I think I need this thing, it is easier. Well, the entire world is driven towards you buying this thing till the point you do buy it, and all your analytics keeps driving you to buy this one thing from different companies, etc., etc. So consumer behavior is difficult to change, but consumer behavior now, because you're talking about communities being involved and you can't recycle now, why is it scary? Why is this scarier is because we have access to this information even in rural areas. People have the know-how of how to get access to a lot of things now, which is a good thing. In a way, is a good thing, but how do you screen the good from the bad? How do you get that information that our native or indigenous products are what we should be promoting, but then everybody wants that better quality of life. So there's a huge balance that you have to dig when you're talking about behavioral change. I think the most important thing when you talk about behavior change is, number one, become a practitioner yourself and talk about it to others. A lot of companies per se are talking about their journeys. But again, the mass per se does not really read in between the lines. They more look at the price points, and which of course is important, but the lower the price is, it's a direct indicator যে যদি সাংঘাতিক সস্তাত বনিছে বস্তুটো তাত তেতিয়াহলে either আপোনাৰ ক'বাত labor costত কাট কৰিছে, which means ethical conditions ত বনা নাই, বা আপোনাৰ fiberত কাট কৰিছে, which means it's using fibers that are probably unhealthy for the environment and you. It is probably cutting or is paying lower margins to people who are involved in the value chain, end to end, door to door marketing, or by it's owned by a very big company which is doing mass production. So egita elements today, if you keep in mind and you're going ahead with your consumption, then these are the things that I guess will decipher how is your price point of anything designed. But I think there's a lot to do in this space. Awareness is happening, but there's also a need for systems. Now, I, as a consumer, am consuming every day, but if I don't have the right say, I don't know how to be. Amar ohomot sobore ase paper wala kinibole ahe paper, glass wala ahe glass lobole. Tenukwa amar he horu hura system eta informal network eta ase. But if this informal network was formalized and people were paid decent wages to do this work and their work is recognized, then they're immediately creating a formal system of recycling that will create a mass change. We've been talking about, Yatamis, we've been talking about waste segregation for years. I remember when I first moved here a few years ago, we were talking about it. There was huge campaigns on segregation of waste. But then at the end, right now, as I can see and have experienced, it's all ending up in the same place. So if this informal market is, or informal workers are incentivized, I think this will create a huge network for us to actually promote sustainable behavior. And people do want to change. There's a growing consciousness among people because they are worried. September, it was the hottest September that we've experienced in Assam. There's been incredible changes in agriculture and incredible changes in weather patterns all around the state and all around the country as well. So everybody's experiencing it. They are talking about it. But to take that action, they just need that little push. They need the little push and they need a system in place. And then I'm very sure that people would like to participate and would like to take forward their little contributions on how to reduce their footprints.
Right. So আমাৰ হাতত আৰু 10 মিনিট আছে কোনোবাই যদি কোৱেশ্চন সুধিব খুজে raise your hand and then ask your question. So তাৰ আগতে মোৰ কোৱেশ্চনটো হ'ল যেহেতু তুমি বহুত grassroots কাম কৰিছা and you work for you have addressed like gender issues and interconnections between the issues as well, right? So তোমাৰ কথাখিনি শুনি থাকোতে মোৰ লাগিছে যে it is much easier to probably motivate the younger generations. সম্ভৱ তেওঁলোকে বহুত কথা বহুত ভালকে বুজি পায় বা এডাপ্ট কৰিব খোজে they are more vocal about sustainability on. So তুমি যদি তোমাক যদি মই কিছু দুটামান অপচন দিও যে তুমি ফিল্ডত যাওঁতে যদি জেন্ডাৰ ওয়াইজ চোৱা যে কোনটো জেন্ডাৰৰ মানুহে বেছি more attentive তোমাৰ কথাখিনি শুনিবলৈ বা কোনটো এজ গ্ৰুপৰ মানুহে বেছি attentive তোমাৰ কথাখিনি শুনিবলৈ they are more willing to adapt whatever changes you were asking to incorporate in their lifestyles. So can you give us an example?
When I have done trainings, rather workshops with younger people, I have not found a gender bias in how information is absorbed and how people react to it. Actually, I found it quite balanced. I have not had one instance where I found the women or girls or versus boys were more interested in the things I was saying. They were equally active, they were equally participating. So I have not found that. Maybe it does exist in other parts of India, but in Assam mohetu dekha nai so far. But one thing that I do is this take back, what do you take back from this workshop? And then the gender role plays in, like what do the girls do in their homes or what do the boys do in their homes? And still there are these like traditional sort of mindsets that girls are doing more household work versus the boys aren't. So those sort of things, yes, I do address them. I do bring it forward and I change, again, through this whole imagination practice. I start doing like, if you were the boy or if you were the girl in the household and you have to do these things, how would you imagine your household running? So I do these practices to kind of break that thinking and that barrier that this is my role with the gender that was assigned to me by birth. And I try to break those stereotypes a little bit, but that does exist in the household setting a little bit, but not so much with the absorption of information and knowledge.
Yes, how about the age group, like how they take the sustainability information?
Really good actually, and the younger the better. I've seen that the younger children are actually much more interested because they are ready to absorb more, and they're really excited. If you give them a project which involves art, drama, things like that, they get very excited because it's an opportunity for them to also showcase their voice, and they feel heard. And because it's about bringing these small changes, they feel heard and they feel excited about it. So yeah, with age per se, it's definitely the younger the better. Get them while they're young is what they say.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I just wanted to ask in specific, like, are you involved with any project or with any school? Anything in specific that you are currently doing? Because us and also Anajari would like to know, because we are really interested to involve students in our possibly in some project.
So right now I'm doing a personal project where I want to bring sustainability to people. So I'm writing something that I hopefully will be able to take to everyone. I want it to be extremely accessible. So right now I'm focusing on that for the next 6 months, which will kind of be like a manual to bringing about sustainability in your life as whatever practice you are in. So that's my current project. But working with schools and colleges, I'm always open to it. I've done it quite a few times. And I've also done it with elected representatives. I've done it with officers. So yeah, but different experiences from the 3 groups. But with younger people, it's much more exciting. And because previously I used to do it through an organization, right? But the work I've done in the past was independent, but in the last, say, 5 years, I've done it through an organization. But the work I do now is primarily using our emotions, bodies, feeling, not just using our heads, but our hands and heart as well in this experience, which kind of, I feel, brings that long-term change in people and kind of leaves a lasting impression.
Okay, so probably I will ask the last question.
So there is a question in the
yes,
chat.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, Melinda, you had a question for this. More question to Motamuti Melinda Nisenai. Melinda question to all what suggestions do you have for energy so that we could promote about self-sustainability? More my question to Aru all of one streamline korepalai hotibo. So do you want to give a take-home message? That's one practice that everybody can practice from Assam, like considering only the audience from Assam, just one practice.
Actually, sabogole, if we take away consumption, like in the sense of large scale online shopping, Assamese people per se have been very, very, through generations, we are very frugal. We like to make things last a long time. So I think having that conversation with our Aita or Koka, I think that's a conversation, that intergenerational conversation is very important to have. One thing I would take away, or I like you to do practice, and especially for younger students who could be listening to this, is to do a carbon footprint study. So study how much is your carbon footprint. It could be very little, it could be too much, you won't even realize. There are lots of websites that actually allow you to do that. It'll allow you to access, to assess how much electricity you consume, water you consume, what transport you take, etc., etc. So most of them minutely, you will get a score. And if you say in a classroom, you can compare how much is your score overall. It'll also give an indicator that the richer are spending more, the poorer are spending less, which is an indicator for economics, yes, but it's also an indicator that the more richer countries are also spending more, and hence we are getting the brunt of it. So it's also learning on global politics and geopolitics per se, but it also makes you realize that consumption, on how much you consume and what goes into it, and that we are also contributing in small ways. For self-sustainability of an organization, do a audit of your organization. See how, if you have an office per se, or you are a student in a school, do an audit of your school in cooperation with your school authorities, that how the school is run. Are you doing segregation in school? Are you using, how you're reusing your water, if you are at all? What is sort of waste disposal management systems you have? So there's so many things, that there are a lot of green schools as well. You can study these and you can take indicators from that and see. And similarly for organizations, but organizations for Enajuri per se, I think our introspection, session would be important to see where you are today and how you want to see your organization in 10 years. And for sustainability, what sort of work you are doing, say, on ground, how do you want to make it self-reliant so that it kind of carries on by itself, and then in future, how you want to see it as well. So you work kind of towards that goal. And sustainability of an organization is a big one. I think that will have to be another session per se,
Right.
but I'm happy to help in that.
Yes. মই actually Supriya honestly মোৰ প্ৰশ্নটো উত্তৰ নাপালো মই সেইকাৰণে আকৌ তোমাক সুধিছো মই মানে এনেকুৱা এটা প্ৰেক্টিছৰ কথা সুধিছো কনসিডাৰ কৰা যে তুমি যদি আমাৰ এখন অসমৰ ঘৰৰ যিকোনো মানুহে মানে যারা কার্বন ফুটপ্রিন্ট যদি স্টাডি কৰিব লাগে they should have minimum digital education and everything, right? But knowledge about the carbon footprint and everything. But মই কৈছো যে যিকোনো এগৰাকী যিকোনো বয়সৰ মানুহক যদি আমি এটা প্ৰেক্টিছ কৰিবলৈ কওঁ হাউস within the মানে ঘৰৰ ভিতৰতে so কিবা এটা বস্তু ৰিপ্লেস কৰাৰ কথা কৈছো
এনেকুৱা বহুত আছে মানে
just one
লিষ্ট বহুত দীঘল আমিতো নেমু টেঙা বহুত খাওঁ প্ৰত্যেকবাৰ যেতিয়া নেমু টেঙা খাওঁ আমি সৰু জাৰ এটা নেমু টেঙা থৈ দি তাতে অলপমান গুড় দি পালে যেতিয়া টেমাটো ভৰ্তি হৈ যায় অকমান পানী দিব লাগে আৰু সেইটো যেতিয়া আপুনি এমাহমান থৈ দিব যেতিয়া নেমু টেঙা ভৰ্তি হৈ যায় আৰু তাৰপিছত এমাহমান থৈ দিব এমাহমান থোৱাৰ পাছত যেতিয়া সেইটো খুলিব আপোনাৰ যে ভীম চাবোন বা হাৰ্পিক এইবোৰ যে থাকে আৰু তাত মানে লেমন এড কিয়া হে and all that. So all of these are bioenzymes that basically you can make at home. I didn't have any harpic in my house for like say 4 years. So নেমু টেঙা খাওক আৰু লগতে নিজৰ বাচ্চাত বাচাওক আৰু নিজৰ bioenzyme বনাওক ঘৰতে আৰু তেনেকুৱা সৰু সৰু hacks বহুত আছে যোনটো কৰিব পাৰে
so এটো হল নেমু টেঙা আৰু কি
আপনি যিমান ভেজিটেবল পিলস আছে
নেমু টেঙা আৰু লগত
গুড় হয় হয়
okay perfect that's interesting actually
yeah you don't it only takes about a month and a half to be usable and in fact there are 3 layers that are created and all 3 layers can be used for different things in the household floor cleaning toilet cleaning washing your utensils etc.
So do you have any blogs or anything of that sort with all those hacks recorded?
No, I don't.
Okay, I think you should have one.
Okay.
Then we can have all in one place.
Brilliant. I'll try to include it somewhere.
Good, great. So I think we have used the allotted quota. Facebookot মই চাইছো question নাই
so okay তেতিয়া হলে thank you Supriya খুব ভাল লাগিলে আৰু এনেকা সেশন জানিবলৈ খুব ইচ্ছা আছিল especially I really like the নেমু টেঙা example yeah আৰু yes আমি এই কনভারসেশনটো দীঘলীয়া কৰিম probably we will have some follow up sessions as well কারণ যেহেতু climate science লৈ কথা পাতিছো sustainability is an important part of that topic so thank you Supriya thank you Bittu for co-hosting the session আৰু thank you Anajori for giving us the platform যদি কাৰোবাৰ কিবা question থাকে Supriya লগত directly কথা পাতিব খুজে আমাক message বা কৰিলে হল ভিডিওটোৰ তলত and then we will connect also so thank you so much I think we can stop the live now
Thank you.
Thank you.
Done.